Welcome back, everybody. Just Mike here. We have a cuckoo clock to work on, and it's a Oompa plain cuckoo clock. Anyway, let me show you the clock. So this is the clock I have. On the dial it did say Germany, but that's been kind of like rubbed off. And it looks like maybe the numbers have been changed because we are missing a number over here and they don't look, let's say, original. It does come with three 220 weights, and you notice the top. I don't know what year they started making the full piece or whatever, but this is showing me it's not as old as some of the other ones I have. These players here, what I like about it, I haven't even tried taking them off. And that one, his base is really loose. We're going to have to check that one out. That doesn't pop off. Normally these players you can pull off because they have the metal disc underneath them. They do have a newer version where I think they put a hole, because these are plastic on the other ones, they put a hole on it and meld it down onto the post or something. I'm not sure. I haven't had one of those. Anyway, each one of these are all made out of wood, and so obviously you're not going to meld the hole in them. But it has the traditional trees on the back side. Some of these have got the evergreen trees sitting on the front side. These here people make me think this is a newer clock because they're the rounded head and they're a wood one, and I think they went to them because possibly it was cheaper to make those. But anyway, it is quite dusty in there. I can see from here it's missing the chain, which is right here. The hook evidently got ripped off. The other chains are hooked in the clock. I don't know just whether the hook's there or not. I just unwrapped this, so I have no idea. Now this is the first one that I have that has the, I guess we'll call it the night shut off. So it shuts off the music, so that way you don't, actually it shuts off the cuckooing, everything, so that way the clock doesn't run. Normally the cuckoo bird, if you shut him off, he's the one that has to trigger the music, and so that's why it shuts everything off. So here I tried needle nose pliers to get that off, and it doesn't want to come off. And this is blowing bubbles. It got a little bit of oil in there. There we go. And like I say, normally I wait 10 seconds because the oil isn't in there to blow up the rust. It's just to get the start sliding again. And so it's been, let's say, 10 seconds. Whoops. There we go. And this has got the washer on there so the nut can slide. And of course it's just the round hole in the hand. This here's got the little square hole nut, and to reset this, you'd set that on there, turn this to get the clock to ring on the hour, but turn it slow so you don't pass the hour. And then you see this has got ridges, a higher lift in the center. That's what the hand fits in. And sometimes you have to press the hand on here. Sometimes they're real loose. But what you do is you set the hand so the minute hand is pointing right at the 12 because you went slow and the clock wanted to start cuckooing. Then you put your washer back on and you snug your nut up onto this, making sure the minute hand is pointing right on the 12 where you want it, so that way your clock will be set for next time it goes around on the half hour, and on the hour the clock will cuckoo with the minute hand right where it's supposed to be. And of course this hand is snug on here, really snug. And then my hand's gonna be in the way, but releasing the cuckoo bird, you lift the wire, bend it up, drop it out of the doorway. So turning the clock over, now you want to take your 3 screws out that hold the music box in, because the music box has got levers coming from the movement that will stop the start and stop, let's say, the music box. And if there's a 4th screw, it's underneath this board here. Nope, it's coming out. But here you can see the dust buildup that can be easily blown out. See, that fell into the hole, and that's what stops it. Otherwise, the lever right here will go in front of the fans when the clock starts cuckooing. It normally drops in front of the fan to hold it. At the same time, this is being pushed down to pull that out of the hole. So these are glued in. What you want to do is pay attention to where your staples are here, because you're going to take a putty knife and you're gonna have to hammer it down in here, but you don't want to hammer it into those staples. Those staples you can't get out because they're stapled in and through the wood a little bit. This one's coming off pretty easy, so maybe they didn't use that much glue. This all looks good besides dust. Now, there is a tad bit of glue here, I don't know if you can tell right there. And so, being as though we took this off the left side, it might not hurt on the side that was glued. Put an L on here. This way it helps you remember which side it was on. But the telltale sign would be this rod here, wire, and that wire is what goes under the tail of the bird, so when this thing opens up to make a noise, it causes the bird's tail to lift, and on the front of the clock you see the bird tip down, and depends, I don't know if this one has or not, but the mouth usually opens up each time the bird cuckoos because of this wire. On these, keep the wire that went to this whistle with it, put a rubber band around it or whatever, because usually these wires are a different length, and normally the one on the right side is longer, but I've found where some of them are the same size, or there are some movements where the whistle boxes are switched around, meaning that this one might be the high note. The low note, this high note right now, so that would be the low note. But on this one, it's not that way, so you don't have to worry about it. And also, it doesn't hurt to, if you're going to do this, take pictures, close pictures, so you can see which wire goes to which one of these lift arms here. So now we have this shut-off switch, and it goes underneath the nut on the movement. So you want to take that off. And don't get carried away here. There's my nut. But on this here, there is a washer, a friction washer. I don't know if you can tell or not, but it's wiggly like, so that way it can push up against the nut I just took off, push down the lever, and that keeps the lever so it's not just flopping around. It has a little bit of stiffness when you go to move it up and down. And don't lose that washer. So now we should be able to lift this off and out. And there's our lever. So now I need to, it looks like, I don't know, those look like, I don't think they're even Phillips. I can't see for sure, but they might be anti-theft. Anti-theft screw heads on there. Let me figure that one out. So these are the heads of the Phillips. There's a chance this one here looks right, but it could be that they didn't have the right size Phillips, but usually they're not in there that hard, so I can't believe they're that tore up. Also, this is the first. The nut that was on the movement that held the shut off, sound shut off. This here, you can see it or not. It has a collar on it. It's all one piece. So that way, where that collar is where the lever fits. I think that's kind of cool or special. Take your pick. So down below the lever that makes the band members move back and forth. It just has a slot in a thing, and this here should just slide right out like that. I just have to watch the people so they get through the doorway without knocking them off. And that was simple enough. So here you can see this wooden bird, his mouth doesn't open. Because this bird goes with the clock, I'm gonna leave it. I have the older birds, a bunch of them with their mouths that open, but this here's just fine. And here you can see how dusty this clock really is. Let me go blow this out. Here, I'd like to show you, this is the dancers moving. And that's because this lever here moves back and forth. And that's what this disc with this hole, or this screw, is for. Is that goes in through here, so it's held in place, and this goes around as the people go around and causes it to look like the band players are moving back and forth. So I'm going to go ahead and oil this movement for everywhere that the gear comes up through. I'm going to put a drop of oil there. This here oiler I have drops the oil and sucks it back up. It's sometimes kind of a pain because it won't drop the oil and you got to shake it down to get the oil plunger to start working again. You set and blow all the dust off the rod. I was just mainly working on the movement. With all these levers in the way, you have to move it around so you can see where each one of these go through. And sometimes it helps to look inside to see where there's a gear. This side's not as bad because it doesn't really have, it has a few levers, but not bad. When you come to this side, you have a bunch of levers in the way, and so you have to look underneath and see if you can get in through, or sometimes you might have to come through here and hit right in front of the pivot to try to get it to be lubed up. Because this has so many things in the way, I'm going to do it off camera. At the bottom, this looks like it says Pendel 23.5 centimeters. So that could be pendulum. I have no idea. And what they're, if that is, what they're talking about measuring is from the center of the shaft down to the center of the bob would possibly measure 23.5 centimeters. Otherwise, this is a regular movement. So before I put the movement in, it's going to be a little difficult, but I'm going to go ahead. The roof is going to be easy enough to wax with my Howard's wood polish and conditioner. The polish, the way that works is once it soaks in, you can take a soft rag and buff it, and it'll give it some kind of a sheen, I guess we'll say. On a Cuckoo clock, I don't see that happening. And I mean, it will to a certain point, but Cuckoo clocks aren't normally made to have that shine to it. And I'm going to work on seeing if I can get these people off. They shouldn't be stuck on here. They should just pop right off, because there's a pipe on the end of each one of these with a slot cut, and then down below there should be like a taper pin that these fit over to hold them in place so they all move the way they're supposed to. So let me work on that and see if I can come up with why they're stuck on there. So I got this off. On the back side, you'll see 2 screws that you'd have to take off. And also, it's stapled on both sides. So once you get those screws off, you'll have to kind of pry this off the staples. But this makes it, number one, easier to wax. But the other reason he's ready to fall off, I was able to pry this one off. They're glued on for some reason, but you can see what I was talking about on that piece of metal where there's a wire that goes through there to hold them to the bar to rock back and forth. This is proven to be difficult because that glue is really on there, and so I'm just taking a Phillips and just getting in there enough to take these screws out. If I had this one far enough or not. Surprisingly, that's in there okay. But these don't wobble. That looks like it's got an E-clip on it down there. So what I've decided is this base is just a tube that underneath the E-clip goes to this rod here that moves back and forth. And this tube is supposed to be stationary. So, because I can't get them apart, I'm going to screw this plate back down, and I'm going to use some super glue on there to glue this on, and I might put some baking soda on there too to help stiffen it up, because the only thing that rod is doing is it's supposed to be holding him up straight, not falling over. So if I can accomplish that, I'll be happy. Use the baking soda on there. Now this is stable, so he's not falling over. Wax this tree. See how dead that tree is? Don't be afraid to get a good amount of this on here, so they'll have something to soak in, I guess is the way I'm going to put it. And at the moment, I've tried a little bit, but I can't get them off, so I hate doing the waxing because I can't get in behind, but I might be able to sneak it in there some way or another. So I'll show you how far I got when I'm done. But see how dry that box is? Just that spot looks better. I threaded all the chain back onto the movement. I'm going to go ahead and stick it back into the clock and get it back together. By the looks of this clock so far, I would say that there's a chance that someone might have had some kids that got a hold of this clock and possibly tried or successfully ripped the chains out of the clock. When I got the clock, I didn't get the pendulum, so I'm going to come up with some kind of pendulum. I'm not sure if I have the right one or not, but a pendulum is a pendulum until I can order the right one if I don't have the right one. I really like the Oompa player clocks, and I will admit, when you're shopping, let's say on eBay, a lot of people, when they advertise those clocks, don't even say anything about the Oompa players, which I think if they happen to mention that in the title, if someone's doing a search on the Cuckoo clocks for that type of a clock, you would put that in there. Anyway, I love the clock. It was very simple. It didn't have any issues except the chains were kind of ripped out because, like I say, something could have got hung up on it, like a puppy, or could have been a child or grandchild. Who knows? Anyway, they weren't going to pay to fix it evidently, so they sent it off to GW, and I'm happy to have gotten it. Don't have the right pendulum, but it'll be on order, that's for sure. Anyway, give me a thumbs up if you appreciated this video. Don't forget to subscribe to me or my friends on the end of this video, because we all work on clocks and enjoy Cuckoo clocks. God bless.